So Trey Lance got an opportunity to get into the preseason game last week against the Broncos. He was third in the rotation and went Brock Purdy to Sam Darnold to Trey Lance. And it was weird because at a certain point, you start, even me, I tweeted out, I was like, where is Trey Lance? Like, fans kept seeing him warm up and he never got into the game. He finally did. He looked rough to start. He threw a pick on the screen. He had a couple fans wanted to throw my face. He had a couple near picks, which almost only counts in horseshoes and grenades, guys. There's no you lost the Super Bowl on an almost pick. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't almost win a game. You win it or you lose. But I saw something really just like light up in him. I saw a more passion Trey Lance than I think I'd ever seen before. You can see his facial reactions and his like disgust that like he didn't get a call here, or there's something that happened where he was frustrated. Like, it was kind of cool to see because he's normally been very like stoic. But he really flipped the switch. He was driving the ball. His process was much better. He was throwing with a little bit of anticipation. As JTL Sullivan broke down, you guys can go watch his video on the quarterback channel, quarterback school channel. He was throwing with anticipation. Guys had out of their break. He looked the safety off on the touchdown to get him within, I think it was like a field goal or 2 points. He looked the safety off before he hit Cameron Latu for a touchdown. He looked so much better. It doesn't seem like he necessarily has a future in San Francisco. So if he were to be traded, B, why don't you tell me where you think he's going to be? And while B's getting that thought in his head, why don't you, viewer, leave a comment in the comment section. Tell us where you think Trey Lance should be traded and where he'd succeed at. But B, I'm going to turn it over to you first since you can't comment right now. Where do you see Trey Lance going? Where do you see this whole situation playing out at?
Yeah, so first off, I don't think the Niners should trade him yet. I think maybe the only case I would say yes, trade him before the season is if, let's say he comes out this next preseason game and just completely lights it up. Well, in that case, it might want him to be the second string. But let's say, for example, they wait to get his demand super high, right? Otherwise, we all saw what happened last year with the 49ers and their quarterbacks just dropping like flies. I would keep him as that third quarterback throughout the year if he does not beat Sam Darnold for that QB2 spot, just because you don't know what can happen, right? So I think it's either now or after the season. So with that being said, there are a few teams out there that might need a quarterback by year's end or after the season is over, depending how that quarterback does. The first team that pops in my brain are the Falcons. Desmond Ritter's there. He's younger. I know the staff has come out and said that they are committed to him, but you just never know what happens, right? We do have a long season ahead of us. What if it's just a complete flop, right? And you do have talent on that offense, and I feel as though you can put Trey Lance in with that offense with this skill set. I think it would be an upgrade over Ritter if Ritter does not pan out. So that's one team in my mind that really sticks out. Other than that, I mean, I don't know if he'll be that career like backup journeyman type guy, which I really hope not, because he had a tough start to his career. I remember we were talking about him months ago, and I said like he just needs more like reps, like get him out there. He has the worst luck possible. So I really hope that for his sake, like maybe it would be best for him as the person and as the player just to go off this next preseason game, get his demand high up there, and maybe they trade him to a place where he can compete to start. Otherwise, again, just wait after the season, wait to make sure no one gets hurt in some freaky way, and then so you always have him there. But Emmett, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, as a 49ers fan, it's a really, really, really tough situation, to be honest. And again, I got to be honest, when I'm wrong, and I need to call it out. I have not seen it with Trey Lance since he got drafted. We did a video about it before about Trey Lance's, Trey Lance's injury is the only thing that's fair to criticism on, which is true. And I had said in the video then, like, I don't see it. I haven't seen anything. And it's because I've seen a lot of what we saw from Trey Lance at the start of this game, where it was bad decisions. How can you not even throw a screen? Like, you're not doing anything special. You're not outrunning defenders. Like I was promised, and I was told Cam Newton and Vic, and he's this and he's that. And I hadn't seen any of it. And then he came out, like I said, impassioned. He was, he almost like juked the defender and was pissed he got tackled and didn't get a call for like a face mask or something. And he flipped the switch, and I saw it for the first time. I was like, oh, like that's who this guy can be. Now, is it something he can lead more than get more out of the offense than what Purdy already is? Because Purdy is throwing with great anticipation. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's getting the balls to the guys when he needs to get the ball to the guys, which is kind of the most important part in Shanahan's offense. But after seeing him turn it on like that, it's hard to sit here and think, yeah, we should trade him. Because again, like you did mention, we have quarterback injury issues every single year, it feels like. It was Jimmy Garoppolo going down, it was Purdy going down, it was Lance going down. It was always somebody going down. So the thought of like getting rid of anyone that has such a high ceiling at all seems like a very poor decision. I couldn't see it doing it because, I mean, again, who knows? By this time next year, Purdy could have gotten hurt. Trey Lance stepped in. He looked amazing the rest of the season, and now it's like maybe Purdy should be traded. But I mean, again, I was wrong about Trey Lance. He showed me something I had not seen at any point in any of the time I'd watched him. I still don't think he's Michael Vick out there. I don't think he's a great runner, but wow, was he able to deliver. Again, and maybe now it's just hindsight, kind of like sitting in that nostalgia with the performance. But yeah, I mean, he looked unstoppable at times. Again, and even in that, you can still see the growth. I think there's a 2-point conversion where even again, JT O'Sullivan did a great job of breaking down Trey Lance's film, where he was rolling out to his left, and instead of looking at number 3, if he had just started looking at number 2, he could have hit the front pylon and gotten it for the 2-point conversion. But instead, he saw it late, hit it late, went out of bounds, almost a pick. But I mean, yeah, it's a tough situation to sit here and at any point right now think, wow, we should trade Trey Lance. Like I just couldn't. If it did happen, I think maybe it kind of depends. There's going to be a few quarterback needy teams depending on how things play out. You could say the Packers because who knows with Jordan Love. You can say the Washington Commanders because of Sam Howell. Who knows? But every team right now says they're committed to their quarterback until come Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden your record's 3-6 or 3-7, and you're like, oh, maybe we're not too committed to Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell anymore. So I think that kind of situation is always fluid. But those would probably be the teams I would expect to trade for him, or Atlanta, like you said. Ridder plays for Atlanta. So, because there was rumor during the draft, the 2021 draft, that the Falcons were going to take Trey Lance. And so that's why at number 4, that's why the 49ers had to jump up to number 3 if they were going to draft a quarterback at all. If they wanted to pick a quarterback, it had to be at 3 because Atlanta was going to take somebody. So, again, I really hope they don't, because what I saw looked like something that really could be built on. It could be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That, I mean, he did things that were amazing. But again, at the same time, Purdy's offense averaged 33 points a game last year, I think, which would have led the entire NFL. So thinking about how you slice it, the 49ers probably have the strongest quarterback room in the entire NFL, and it's really hard to sit here and think about taking away from that in any kind of a trade. And that includes Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold's done a great job this camp and preseason games of not throwing picks, which has notoriously been his biggest Achilles heel. No matter how great of a thrower the football is, he's throwing picks. Even his senior year of college, I remember thinking, this guy threw 15 picks. Why is he such a highly ranked quarterback? So he's done a great job of cleaning up in camp. So I think no matter how you slice it, like I said, the 49ers have the strongest quarterback room probably in the NFL, talking beyond starters too. And I think it'll be an exciting year, and I hope they don't trade him. I really hope they don't, but who knows in this game.
Yeah, and as you were talking to, I thought of a point. I think, again, I'm not a Niners fan, so take this with a grain of salt. You and the rest of Niners, Nation have watched a lot more Trey Lance or the 49ers in general than me. But we use this past preseason game as like a sample for who Trey Lance is. I think the one knock on him is like sometimes there's no like happy medium. Like either sometimes one extreme where he's doing really poor, and then the other extreme is like he's doing really, really well. Like to your point, you said at the beginning of the game he looked rough, and at some points he looked like unstoppable, right? And then what's the one strength of Purdy is like people use this term as a knock, but it's really not. he can manage the game well. He makes the right
Yeah.
reads. He makes the right throw. Even if that throw is a 3 yard out, he makes it. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
I hear this. I hear the same talking points about Fields, right? They call him a highlight quarterback because he can do a lot of good stuff, but then his one knock is like he can't do the simple stuff. Like there's no middle ground of like this saying the offensive float, just making the easy plays and the easy reads, right? The layups, I guess they call
Yeah.
them. So I feel like that's like his one knock right now. If he can just find that stable ground of like
Yeah.
making those dink and dunks, making those right reads, the same reads that JJT was pulling out in that video. It's like if he can just do that more, he will be a
Yeah.
starter.
And it's like to sit here and put to another sports comparison for our multi-sports watchers, and why like, oh, game manager's not, it's bad and this and that with Purdy is. Purdy is like Magic Johnson, right? Magic was a great scorer, but he was known for his passing ability. That's what Purdy is. He's passing up to the Kittles, to the Ayuks, to the Debo, so they can get to the rim, they can score, they can hit the three, the wide open three. He is the facilitator to try to get it to these guys and let them do what they do because what they do is special. Versus Trey Lance, which if he hits the peak he should hit and is supposed to hit and like hits a ceiling, right? So take that in mind with this comparison. Trey Lance is like Larry Bird. Larry Bird is the scorer. He's the always open. He may look covered, but he's still open kind of guy. He's going to hit the three. He's got all these moves. He's under the rim. He can prolific score. He can go from anywhere. That's the difference. It's like, well, what does this offense need? Does it need the Magic Johnson that's just throwing the ball behind his back as he's attacking the rim? And Shaq comes in behind him with the dunk. Obviously not Shaq, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comes in with the dunk or the skyhook. Or do we need Larry Bird who's just uncoverable out there? Like, fuck it, give it to Larry, let him ISO. What do we do? What do we need? And I think it's a matter of, I don't think there's a bad option there. I think, obviously you need to go with Purdy right now because we need that facilitator, and that aspect of Lance's game just isn't there yet. But now we've seen what Lance can be. It's kind of like, do we really want to get rid of that? Like, who knows? Again, we can't project the future, but who knows? Maybe after this year, if Purdy does get hurt and Lance steps in and does great, maybe he's improved that part. And Purdy's the one we're talking about getting traded. Again, I really hope for no one's injury. I hope for none of that. But it's such a wild season, so it's hard to sit here and look at it like that. I've also seen some suggestion of like having a Lance package, kind of like, hey, it's 2 minute or something. Like, hey, we're near the goal line, bring Lance in. Hey, it's 3rd and 15, bring Lance in.
Yeah.
So, and I know they did that with him his rookie year with Garoppolo. So it's still a fun idea that they could still try to use a little bit of a 2-quarterback system. I would be excited to watch that, but it'd be up to Kyle Shanahan to really manage that well. So either way, I think it's an exciting development for the 49ers because there was a moment, I think it was right after that pick he threw on the screen or this one where it was just a boneheaded. It was so bad. Like, again, to quote JT O'Sullivan here, it was so bad the defender missed it because he jumped it so quickly. Where I was sitting and thinking, I was like, this is it. Like, this is so gut wrenching to see, but this is it for Trey Lance. He might get cut. Not even Trey. He might not even make this roster. And then he just went back out there, flipped on. I was like, wow, who is this guy? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just amazing to see that kind of that 180. So,
yeah. I wanted to bring up an off the wall question to you as we're talking. I was thinking of more possible landing spots for him if he does get traded. And I feel like this team might shock you, but they do have a quarterback that's, I believe, on his last year of his contract, and they're one of those teams that's in like the middle ground. Like they're not bad enough to get a top 5 pick. They might not be able to trade someone to get that new quarterback. So with that being said, I think a quarterback that could go, or a team that could trade for Trey Lance to kind of develop him even further and maybe be that next franchise guy. What are your thoughts on the Vikings? It would take a lot. I'm not saying I completely believe in it, but I'll try and think through possible scenarios. Like, what if the Vikings are just that 8-9 win team, can't get the top 5 pick unless they trade into it to get that new quarterback? Because at some point they had to move on from Kirk Cousins. I know he's still relatively young. I think he's 34, 35. So maybe
Yeah.
he has a few seasons left, maybe more. Maybe he's planning on playing till he's 40, but the Vikings aren't planning on keeping him till he's 40. So I was just
That's
trying to
true.
think of a possible team that needs to get that new quarterback, at least thinking about it and maybe prepping for it. And I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I know. There's one team that would, or one fan, one Twitter user that'd be really excited about that. There's a guy on Twitter whose his avatar is Trey Lance in a Vikings graphic, and I
Really?
mean Trey
Okay.
Lance is from Minnesota, I believe, originally, and then he went to North Dakota State, so it would be kind of a return to home for him. I don't think that'd be an awful thing for him. I'm not sure if the 49ers would feel comfortable if Trey Lance continues to grow as he did in this past game. Feel comfortable trading him to a team within the NFC. I'm sure they would probably want to move him to the AFC, so that way they don't have to run the risk of if he does hit his peak or his ceiling of having to face him in the playoffs. So it would probably cost the Vikings more, but
True.
I don't know. Again, it really depends. I mean, even the thought of trading him, like his trade value is so. What is it? Is it a seventh round pick? Is it nothing? Is he not even worth trading for? Is it a second? Because hey, we saw what he could be, and what he could be a top 10 quarterback, and that's what. So I mean, it's even hard to sit here and gauge what his trade value is. Another team might say, like the Vikings might say, hey, a fourth is in the middle. Let's send that. And the Vikings or the 49ers argument would be, you guys saw what he's capable of. That looks like top quarterback in the league potential. So we're going to need more than a fourth. I just don't think any trade could materialize right now because I
We
don't think
don't
they would
know.
ever come to an agreement on what the value of Trey Lance is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Well,
why I really hope he comes out this last preseason game and just lights it up. One for
yeah,
him and two for like, I don't know, if he does that and if you're Lynch and you're getting phone calls and you got this guy whose ceiling is super high, but his value is also the highest it has been in the past couple years because people have finally seen what he can do. Do you make that call now and trade him or do you hold on to him? You
I
know?
seriously doubt they would trade him because again they do need the quarterback
Yeah.
depth. But here's kind of what raises my question that started kind of our segments off with is if he needs the reps, he needs the reps. He's quarterback 2 at best right now. Like he's not going to be quarterback 1 no matter what. Why not just let him play the whole fucking game?
Mm.
Like, what Darnold is. Darnold is a 4-year vet in the NFL. You've seen him play a shit ton of games. He's played whatever it was, 30, 40, 50 games. You know what he is. Why not give that entire game to Lance and let him develop? Let him start off rough, let him hit his peak, let him continue to hit his peak, and we see where he is and what he does, and where we go from here. Like, why not just let him get all of those reps?
Yeah, I feel like in that case it's a little bit different than like the rookie quarterback stuff because if Darnold is their number 2 right now, they probably want him to get some snaps. Like to your point, he is a vet. You don't need to see a whole lot of them, but at least like a few series just to make sure he's not too rusty. Let's say if like again, I don't want this to happen. What if Purdy week 1 gets hurt, right? In all preseason, Darnold only took like 20 snaps. Like he's gonna be like rusty going into that spot. But to your point, I mean, why not just play Lance for the entire half, like the entire second half, if he is the number 3, right? You can split
Yeah,
time, split reps with Purdy and Darnold in the first half, and then let Lance get the entire second half.
yeah. Well, I'm not so sure it's so clean cut that Sam Donald is the number 2 right now. I mean, there's been reports either way, but a decent of them seem to say that, Darnold has not looked like he has a full grasp of the playbook. So, Lance has had that advantage to look better. And he's looked really good. Lance has looked really good in practice, from my understanding as well. So again, I don't think it's as clear cut as Sam Darnold is the number 2 right now. I know there's a couple of reporters that are saying that, but again, after what we just saw from Lance in this game last week, whatever it is, I think it's a matter of I don't know. Again, I don't. You know what Darnold is. And I'm not shitting on Darnold for this. I mean, but you know what he is. You've seen a lot of Sam Darnold. There's a lot of tape out there. There's not a lot of tape on Trey Lance. He hasn't thrown a lot of passes in a game. So why not just give him that opportunity to get the full reps? If he goes in and he bombs, cool. He's quarterback 3. Sam Darnold's quarterback 2. If he goes in and lights it up, cool. Pull him out in the third quarter. Let Sam Darnold get the fourth, or let Braylon Allen get the fourth, and call it a day. So I think it can be a little bit of a wishy-washy kind of a thing. And I'm sure you still want to get Purdy some reps. So maybe Purdy plays the first quarter. Lance plays the second and third. If Lance bombs, he plays the rest of it. If he looks great, Darnold gets the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a kind of give and take like that too. So
yeah. I hope the Niners just like kill teams this season just so we can get Lance out there in actual game action. Do some mop up time, even if he is like the third. This probably would never happen. It's not the way football really works. But let's say he loses the battle for the QB2 right to like Darnold. I would still play Lance in mop up time just because he has to get those like reps. I want to throw Darnold out there because you know what he is. I mean, he doesn't need to get ready for anything. Again, unless like Purdy goes down or whatnot. But yeah, to your point, the battle's not over yet. I mean, who knows? I guess maybe this last preseason game will kind of tell us. Maybe I'm guessing they're going to make their choice soon on who the quarterback is, or maybe it's one of those things that they go back and forth on throughout the season.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not anything that's going to play out on game day, so it could flip flop 1,000 times during the season. But again, I'd imagine Trey Lance probably should get, if he continues his growth from last week to next week, he should get the nod as number 2 because he does have the highest ceiling. He's also familiar with the playbook, so he can come in and he's been in the system. He knows what to do, at least to a degree, versus Sam Darnold. And then you still have Sam Darnold. So again, if heaven forbid something happens to Purdy and you have to put Lance in there and something goes wrong, you can still turn to Sam Darnold. He's still on the roster. So I think trading Trey Lance would be a mistake at this point. Maybe next offseason you reevaluate the whole quarterback room based on how this season goes and then make a decision on all the quarterbacks then. But I don't think anyone's locked up that entire room so much to where it's like it makes sense to just trade anybody.
Yeah, agreed.
So, but that does wrap up our episode this week. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. For those who have, again, you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Should Trey Lance be traded? Who do you think is going to win between Oregon State and Oregon? Does it make sense to play your rookie quarterback throughout the entire preseason? But in the meantime, check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify. Until next time, it's been Emmett. It's been B. You guys have a great week.